I've seen that. I didn't do that. I don't know, something might ask Sean. I just think they like it. Okay, this is the sign.
Yeah, it's just like they put it on the calendar.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Sam? You know, up there at St. Roger's Feet or that church that was facility built there in gospel. They put a sign up there for parking.
No, that belongs to, is does Anderson own that now? Bought this backstage? Probably is.
That's another thing. That's the one left. That's really not much of a traffic. Because some have seen those.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't.
Somebody fall there or something, you know.
The city doesn't own it.
Okay, now we're getting, whether they got permission to even use it or not, I don't know. That's up to them.
Yeah. I wouldn't. I bet they don't. I bet they don't.
That's like the house that we built. They did on that project last time. This has got a garage.
Yeah, Anderson owns the backstage. I'm sure.
We look at the hose line.
Sometimes you want to.
Which they've got provisions for junk cars, like for salvage yards in the zone. Yeah, you know, I'm sure somebody would answer would be like a regular car lot, but still, and the other thing that, you know, kind of, you know, we've got several places, including me, will have semi-trailers for storage on commercial properties.
Well, it meets, this is the third Monday. Each month, except December. There's no meetings in December.
Otherwise, that's about the only thing I can do on Tuesday would be more than careful about that commercial property. That'd be on Tuesday. That Tuesday evening is kind of draconian.
I'll be on both sides. Both of them. One of them has to be council.
But
The other one is the city or appointed representing the state.
As far as I'm concerned. Because I think that's about the only place
That's why they
really
want it.
differentiates.
Third Tuesday.
Yeah, well.
Next week. Next week. Do what? Thinking about taking that job right here.
They meet at 6 o'clock.
No,
It's kind of gets a little sticky with what, as far as what zoning is on floor property.
man, usually they don't much, sometimes, unless it's something really big, we can have a meeting out there and have the thing resolved. Usually we don't have that.
Semi-trailers for storage units.
No, that's over at, on West on Oak Street.
Yeah, and that's,
the
see,
old
there's a
hospital.
residential condition.
Upstairs in
This
the
is
old
residential,
commissioner's room.
this one here is residential use. And the only
Second
thing
floor.
on that one that was that it can only be parked on driveway or similar hard surface, and I don't know if that needs to be, because that's how people pull cars in their yard.
Usually know where the elevator is, you know where that's at, probably.
Yeah.
I
Those
suppose.
flagpole stuff is out there, right by the parking lot there, they don't have doors there.
That's a sticky one just because somebody potentially has a commercial, so you could get around this down just a little bit.
And that's funny, because that's the second jack I've had that kind of Bangladesh, whatever.
Hey, Chad.
Please stand for the pledge and remain standing for prayer.
Mayor, we have a public hearing.
Excuse me, step back down. We got a public hearing.
Aerobic workout.
It's 6:02, we're opening our public hearing. I'm going to turn it over to Jan. You're welcome.
Okay, our public hearing is about additional appropriations. If anyone in the public has anything, questions or about the additional appropriations, about the notice that was put in the paper. It's to increase the appropriations for Lowit Public Safety Fund, the MVH Fund, and the General Fund. The additional appropriation for the Lowit Public Safety Fund is for unexpected ladder truck repair. And the MVH Fund is for road maintenance work that we did this year. And the other one is for the General Fund for attorney fees that were more than expected this year. So if there aren't any questions from the public, we'll be talking about that in the meeting. We'll pass the resolution if they choose to pass it.
Any questions or comments from council, from the public? As of 6:03 p.m., we'll adjourn the public hearing. Now please stand for the pledge and remain standing for prayer. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, thank you for the many blessings for our community. We pray for those who are in the offices that govern this community, county, and in the United States. And we wish and pray that they make the decisions that are always best interest for this country and this community. We are also glad that we have the freedom to speak up and to vote for those who oppose our set values, even if we differ from these leaders. Heavenly Father, please bless the men and women in city government, state government, federal government, and all the elected officials and those who put themselves in harm's way, like law enforcement officers, firefighters, and EMS workers. But more importantly today, please pray for those who have served in the armed services, pray for those families, and please those who have given their lives. In the name we pray, amen. Amen. James, take a roll call vote, please. A roll call.
Dan Vincent, Bob Leahy,
Here.
Jim Hufford,
Here.
Tim Heiss,
Here.
Chad Spence.
Here.
All right, trust you had a chance to review the agenda. Any questions or comments for the consent agenda? Not, I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
First, to a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor of accepting the consent agenda say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, I'm going to move, if the council members don't mind, I'm going to move, we have a presenter on the agenda. It's ARHI Building and Remodeling. It's Keith Payne. He's got a little presentation to discuss the possibility of some opportunities for us for new home construction. Keith?
Yes. Thank you. And good evening to everyone. Before we start, are there any people that have served? Raise your hands.
What's that?
In the military?
Military.
What was the question?
Are there any people that have served in the military?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I want to tell you thanks. As much as I've heard, never forget.
Yeah.
Right. So thank you. I'd like to thank you guys for the opportunity to discuss and present what I was here to talk about, and I guess I'll kind of get started right into it. Let's see where to start. So first off, my name's Keith Payne. I'm a builder, developer from Indianapolis. I grew up Indianapolis, went to North Central High School. Let's see. My father was in the service too. I'm trying to think of what else I'm going to tell you guys. I'll just go ahead and get started with the presentation, and we'll kind of cover it as we go.
Well, if you don't mind, I ran across Keith's name through a company out of Indianapolis. We've been struggling looking for someone that we can partner with for a building new home construction here in Union City. And so we made the connection, and I invited him up here for this presentation.
That's good. So anyway, as we begin, as I said, I'm a builder developer, and there was a unique opportunity that kind of came across from speaking with the mayor and speaking with some other people regarding some potential opportunity. My background, as I said, I'm from Indianapolis, North Central, went to college, Dillard, in New Orleans, studied real estate development. For years, I've been involved in real estate. There was about 30-something plus custom homes that we've done, a lot of retail build-outs. I've been involved in some very major projects, the Indianapolis Airport, before it started and as it unfolded. We were very actively involved as a supplier. That transferred over to Lucas Oil. Again, we were working very closely with Hunt Construction, a very large company. I got pulled, and this is kind of important for you to know about me before I go, so you can kind of understand, how I've gotten here and how I'm presenting this. I had a lot of involvement with Hunt Construction and sat on the board. I attended a lot of meetings at the board at the airport as they were unfolding the plans for what the city was planning on doing. This was a year before they even started any construction, and this was because I was a builder. Wilhelm Construction, which is based out of Indianapolis, had a material supply lumber yard that they had always seen me coming in as I was building. Obviously a hard worker. I was always in my pickup truck throwing lumber and just getting the job done. So I got stopped by them and said, have you ever considered potentially becoming a supplier? And at the time then I was like, no, I'm primarily a builder. I don't know anything about supplies. I know about buying it. And so that's where it all started, where I started getting into supplies, working with them and Lilly as an MBE diversity supplier. And from going to Lilly, because Lilly has done a lot for the community. They have a huge outreach. They had encouraged a lot of the larger companies to reach out for people that were qualified to try to help strengthen the chain, which I'm really very involved into that, believing in strengthening the chain. Fast forwarding, we ended up doing business with them, ended up following the airport as it started unfolding, started going to pre-bid meetings, and it gave me a chance to see a major project unfold from the grassroots level. I didn't know it then, but as the airport unfolded, going to multiple meetings, going to a lot of construction meetings, talking to larger national, international companies coming in, of how they were attempting to execute the plan, and seeing how it all came together really kind of gave me a really good insight of pulling together community projects, pulling together concepts, which I do all the time in building, from talking to clients about ideas they have and being able to kind of pull those ideas into a format that combines form and function, which in essence means that you live what it is that you built, so it almost works harmonious together. So that being said, the airport unfolded. We ended up being the highest producing contractor on the MDE side, because I started building relationships with a lot of different companies, you know, just from meetings like this, finding out, you know, what's the narrative, what's your objective, what are you trying to accomplish? Well, Keith, we need to purchase this type of material for such and such, and because I had familiarity with plans, I could be able to see what they were after and be able, because I'm used to building homes and knowing the logistics involved from getting from point A to point B, I could quickly understand what they were trying to accomplish. And this actually ended up playing out well, not that I knew, but it made it very easy for me being able to do business. And so as a result of that, we got set up to import glass from Beijing and Beijing, China, that, you know, I imported from Chicago, from China to Chicago to Indianapolis to the airport. So a lot of the glass, when you guys go into the airport, we had something to do with bringing that into the United States. A big learning experience as far as on that. Another thing is steel, K.I.S.S Steel, which is a huge international company. We dealt with getting set up to procure steel from U.S. Steel. So just dealing with the planning, the logistics, the timing, you know, realizing your part and how you fit into the whole has really helped transfer. So as I present this today, this is largely coming from what I've picked up over the years from working with Walsh, Lilly, you know, Pepper Construction. We were active also in the Ohio Rivers project as that took off, another grassroots project. So as I'm approaching, suggesting or proposing this, it is from a grassroots level, because the first thing to be able to do in a project like this is paint the picture of a concept. You know, secondary, you have to make sure you can be able to establish, here's the foundation of what we're going to lay. And from that foundation is where you actually start building upon. And so today, primarily, is just a concept. It's a concept that'll have a foundation, and it'll show the steps, what I'm recommending, and also the benefits for the community. So with that being said, that's the name of my company, ARHI. What this is, there's my resume here. It's kind of a little bit faint, but you guys can see largely, you know, I'm a designer, builder. I've been doing this for a while. Not going to date myself, but you know, I came out of college and got started right into building. So this, I've seen the ups and downs and things like that. Some of my skills, you know, we're dealing with financial planning, zoning, municipal logistics, developmental design, and management from concept to completion. So this is basically a concept introduction. And so from this point is where I can be able to build upon. But I kind of want to make sure everybody kind of understands some of the background. This will be available that I can email. So if anybody does want to see it in further detail. So anyway, what I'm proposing is, again, some of the things I learned. The airport, the stadium, Ohio Rivers project is something they call a P3. And a P3 basically is a public-private partnership. That's how they get the P3 from the 3 Ps there. And the benefit is you have both parties that help benefit the community. And in this regard, the public investment is something that is put up. Many times the cities will put up tax abatements, or they'll put up where they have different tax credits. In the earlier days, as Indianapolis was getting going, there was a lot of property that the city would donate to help stimulate economic growth. Even today, the city of Indianapolis has spent a tremendous amount of money building a cultural trail, which many of you may have heard now, Bates Hendricks, a lot of the other areas down in the Fountain Square area, Broad Ripple. These are all things that have happened because cities will take a longer term viewpoint of where they see the community going or where they want the community to grow, and they make an investment to encourage and stimulate that. Because typically somebody has to take the first step in order, like even in a dance, somebody's got to take the first step for you to actually dance, because without that, everybody's just standing here. So P3 in a public-private partnership allows for the public to make an investment. There is a public return. It usually comes into tax dollars, a lot of times generating synergy that will equate over into commercial development. It creates excitement that as long as people are excited, they start coming in. As people come into town, they want to eat something, so there's more of a need for space. So it just kind of starts building upon itself. And from the private side, there's a private investment that helps to be able to stimulate it from more of a private economic standpoint. And the end result ends up being that the public gets a return and the private individual gets a return. So this is kind of the fundamentals of where I'm kind of building up from. What I'm speaking about is within a particular area, which is Oak Street, correct?
Mm-hmm.
There is a section of property that is on there, and I'm going to show you where it is as I get to the next one. But I'm proposing this being developed as initially townhomes along there. The townhome concept that, and I kind of studied the city as I came here once before, and even as I've driven around and paid attention to neighborhoods, because, urban planning, regional development, that's kind of what I do. And noticing people's habits, how they live, house styles. So within the history of the city, this kind of mimics more of what I have seen historically that has been present within how the city has evolved. I even kind of went back to some of the pictures, your historic pictures in the 1800s, when they had all the electrical wires is all over the place, but they're all buried nowadays, and looking at the architectural concept. So this concept is something that's a development that's been very successfully done on the East Coast. And some of the things to pay attention architecturally that will bring in this type of modern, older style is the offsets of how these buildings, there's not a necessarily straight line. And one of my main specialties is in design, because it's the detail of different types of decorative pieces here, the different type of handrail, how you can tell how these columns are offset, the different colors in the gutters, all these little details, and even on the sidewalk that I know there's been discussions about potentially having a sidewalk brought in from the graveyard, the grave area up, I think it is, through Oak Street. It's been conceptualized. But be able to have within the private partner, the public-private partnership, sidewalks, roads, you have vegetative landscaping here that kind of, it emits a feel of history there, and it emits a feel of, number one, security because of how close the buildings are, but it also gives more of a modern flair and a connectivity within the neighborhood. These are shown as 3 stories. What I would be proposing would be more of a 2-story. These would be considered affordable housing, which I think is very important after studying the market, because some of the different types of listings that I have pulled from here show that the average square foot for most of the newer homes are running about $95 a square foot. Now, Randolph County does not have a tremendous amount of history on new construction, which kind of makes me really kind of slow down to look at what's actually being proposed to see that if there is actually demand that's there. But if the demand is there, the price point of affordable housing being $95 a square foot for what I'm proposing, 1,200 square foot homes would allow the houses to come out on this area at about $110,000 to $130,000 per unit. And that would be including a garage. This particular layout is facing Oak Street. The garage would be around the back. So I'm going to kind of go to this next slide here to kind of talk about some of the project overview and keep going. It is a single family townhome development, public-private partnership. This first phase is 44 to 50 units of modern historic townhome, affordable housing. I've already spoken to a lot of my team members, which you guys will see as I keep going, about how to design this affordable, because just because housing is affordable does not mean it has to be cheap. When I deal with a lot of remodels, total house guts, bath remodels, kitchens, new homes and things, people often say, Keith, I don't have a high budget. And a lot of times people equate a low budget with being cheap. And it doesn't have to be that way. If you do your homework to make sure the details, like I was just talking about earlier on that previous slide, that you make sure you accentuate to make it so that it's appealing to the eye. So on the inside here, basically, it's a very simple design. It's right up the alley of how I tend to build, but you would have 40 to 50 units within that townhome, $100,000 to $130,000 price point. The second phase being the single-family homes, which is another parcel of ground further away from here, but that would be a second proposal phase in the event that this worked out well. Those would have a price point between $140,000 to $300,000. The highest home that I was able to find within the particular area was a home that did sell for $334,000. But the challenge of it is we have to make adjustments because that is sitting on a 5-acre parcel. But the snapshot of what I looked at, 115,000 to 300, kind of gives me at least validation that there has been some history within here that has sold. And these two homes are fairly new, 2000. I think the other one was like 2005.
Question on the townhomes, what's the bedroom and bathroom count?
It's very good. 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths.
And then in reference to affordable housing, is that subsidized housing, or what do you mean by affordable?
No, it's not subsidized, but affordable housing by the standards of FHA, affordable housing keeps going up, and it becomes actually, I think, more expensive housing, because affordable housing now is anything that's $290,000 down below. And I think you have to kind of critique it to match a particular community. So within this community, based upon historical sales, affordable housing here would have to be more between like 90 to maybe 130,000, still below the threshold from FHA national standards. But as I'm speaking about that, that's coming in at that price point versus proposing $200,000 homes, because it's the community doesn't have a history of that, if that makes sense. So moving forward, so there is a design and development planning that would run concurrent as this would potentially move forward. I'm proposing that Union City puts in basically the initial upfront seed money. I'm a small developer, but in 90% of all the developments that I've spoken with, people like George Sweet, that went before he built Village of West Clay, somebody I knew after I came out of college, and he had me involved so I could see how that unfolded. And that was literally 640 acres before that they went through the Carmel to get all this approved. Now to see where the village of West Clay is kind of interesting, because I remember back when it was just starting. Not that I'm trying to date myself. So keep moving forward. So anyway, this is the proposed townhome layout of some preliminary work that was done by North Point. This is Oak Street up here. As you remember the houses I was showing you, saying this would be a walkway where the houses are facing that. You'd have another roadway basically that would come through for a back alley that would have the garages here. These units would face along this particular alley, and I think along here is a vacant lot with some other types of electrical poles. I think there's something, so there would have to be some type of vegetative fencing that would be planned into this that would allow for probably having to get a variance of a type to put the taller type of fence versus an 8-foot. You may put a taller 10-foot wooden fence there that's going vertical. It may have some design, and behind it, like if this was a fence, you would have the fence here, but then you would have some types of vegetative plantings along the fence. And have some type of design running, so when the people are looking at this, they have something nice to look at. Right. And many times when you guys see commercial developments in really nice neighborhoods, if you ever drive around the back, I do this because I tend to dissect stuff when I see successful projects, you'll see in the back of those developments, the back of them look almost as nice as the front, because the neighborhoods want to make sure that if this commercial unit's coming in here, I have something that's not going to detract from my existing house. So that would be kind of the concept that would be designed in, which is all part of the plan. So this is the initial configuration. We would kind of look at this further and critique it with my team, because I have a team of architects, attorney, my civil engineer. There's about 5 people on the team, which you'll see here, that I work closely with. This is a concept. This is not the particular style, because I have not had, I just kind of wanted to get a general concept so you guys can kind of see where I'm coming from. This is a home that I've designed that I'm building currently on my project in Indianapolis. It's a 56-acre lake in South Broad Ripple. And so what I've done is these are designed more around a Mediterranean, and the concept I came up with to keep things affordable is this is about a 20-foot span here between here and here. Mainly everything's built and designed evenly, so that way you get even lumber distribution. So when you're buying something, you're not buying it and then the carpenters have to cut it, because the minute they cut it, that's taking time, and the minute it takes time, that's costing money. So the less cuts and the more efficient the house is designed, it just kind of goes up more like a cookie cutter, keeps down the time, and that cost transfers all the way throughout the whole project. But in order to get that, you have to think ahead to design it that way from the get-go. So this particular style is a 3-bedroom, and I need to get a little closer. So here's the first floor here. So you have a bedroom, a nice walk-in closet here, bath. This is a standard floor plan that I'll be using there. This is the floor plan that I'm suggesting that we use as a basis for the 2-story townhomes that I'm proposing here. Now the fronts would not be more of a Mediterranean style, because this is something I designed based around demand within Indianapolis. Meridian Kessler, Broad Ripple has a lot of the styles of homes that have some part of an Italian Mediterranean style. Here, the primary design will be focused around a farmhouse style. Now, the nice thing about being in a rural area like this, farmhouse style homes are pretty much the way everything's already designed. It's already taken off like wildfire across the nation, people building farmhouse style homes. So this will be kind of more geared toward farmhouse style homes, but this is the style and layout of the floor plan. This is something else for a second phase of single family development. And this kind of, right now, this is where the turbine is, somewhere in this particular area of it. But this would be more of a second phase after getting started on the townhome and that becoming successful. Again, this is another layout of 144 lots versus 148. But again, these are farmhouse style homes. I'm going to show you things that I kind of went through. This matches kind of more of my style of building. Now these are fairly expensive looking homes that you're seeing, but in my design, what I do is I pick out parts what make this look like this, and we scale it down. We scale it down so that, you know, the average size of the homes would be about 1,200 to 1,500 feet. Now, the uniqueness of what I'm proposing, and I've been around long enough and I've studied enough other different builders, the difference between me and another established company coming in is the company is going to look at the land and say, can this land fit our profile or our format of how we tend to do such? I think this will fit this style that we've done here. And they just take it, make some alterations, plop it down there, and that's how you end up seeing a lot of houses that tend to kind of look the same. So in my particular case, we've built a lot of houses, but I have to build the concept and designs from scratch, which is a very unique scenario. This is part of the benefit I would get on the private side, is that we now would be able to have a repertoire of homes that have a particular style. So this is one other style here. This is another type of style. A lot of the homes that I've picked for concepts have a lot of ornate design, and you know they're more or less nice looking cottage homes with a lot of character, because I think that if the house is going to be small, you can still have a lot of character in there from using affordable materials in there. This is another particular style. This is another one. Pay attention to the arches. Again, these are very basic homes because, you know, from a builder standpoint, you've got, you know, a gable here, and you got your ridge running across here and a gable to gable. That's pretty much it. You don't have any clip gables. You don't have, in custom homes, you can have where you can have offsets that are very complicated to build. This is really a truss system that's going through here, and a truss system here going into the back, dying into it. The only thing that you spend a lot of time on is creating this type of detail, which is what catches the eye. So, you know, as putting the houses together, I would be focusing on that. Again, this is very simple elegance, that, you know, just how you put things together so it's appealing to the eye. And here is another particular style. Here is more of a modern style. Again, this is a very easy build because if you look at the roof structure, it's got some verticality there, and these are just some additional accentuations to it that can be built very easily. Again, from a drive-by, it would be very attractive. There is an interest in making sure there's no front load garages, so that way there's side load, because the lots that have been proposed on the single family are wide enough that if you have a wide lot, I mean, why put the garage to the front? You know, and so if you just put the garage to the side, the garage could be on that other side. We can't see it, but driving by, you just see all facial front of the house, which really helps in value to it. The neighborhood would also have a homeowners association, so that way it would limit so that you can't have people just starting to accumulate stuff here, and it'd have guidelines there, because those are part of the things that...
You've been through our town then.
I've been through many towns. And I've seen, whereas even in the city, where building houses for people, I've done remodels, and somebody said, you know, my next door neighbor house is good, great people, but they're so messy. They put stuff out in the front porch, and I'm like, don't you guys have a homeowners association? No, we can't do anything about it. You're stuck. So in newer developments like this, I think you set down, you know, a guideline for what people can and can't do, not limiting them too much, but you want to kind of protect everybody's value. Again, these are just other different styles. I noticed you guys have a lot of metal roofs here, so there must be a metal company nearby.
Yeah, Ridgeville.
Okay.
It's been a long legacy of that.
Has it? Well, you know, I love metal roofs. I absolutely love them, and I've seen different colors. So a lot of the design for what I'm proposing, we would come up with probably about 8 different floor plans, not having 1 or 2 different floor plans with variations. Because one of the neat things what people like about custom homes is they feel my house is different. So instead of having 1 or 2 different houses with different variations, I think if you have more where people can pick from with limited variations, so you can have kind of more creativity, more uniqueness. Again, what this does is for investing into Union City is, and as I go forward further into this, into community outreaches, you create an excitement. You know, there's not a lot of new construction that happens in small communities. Yeah, thank you. Randolph County was my thinking. So the mere fact that you guys are even considering this, I have a tremendous amount of respect for you, because in business, you have to take a risk. It needs to be a calculated risk, but when you take that calculated risk and you reap the benefits, you fully deserve what you've taken this calculated risk on like a private-public partnership. And with the things that I'm understanding that could potentially happen here, you guys would be ahead of the curve, so that as things began to happen, you'd be able to benefit. So these are just some other various styles of houses. I'm gonna kind of get to the mechanics here. These are some of our partners. Obviously, you guys would be number one. We work with Y Engineering. I don't know if some of these companies you guys have heard of, but Michelle and those guys are the law firm that deals with a lot of real estate. They would be the ones drafting documents for homeowners associations, transfers, the titles, things, the investment that I'm proposing that the city makes. Part of it would be planted within the property, so that each time there is a particular closing, there would be more of a type of reimbursement back to the city. That would be more like an endowment, or kind of we'd label it something so that the investment, you actually get part of it back. Most developers don't usually do that. They'll usually, so we need this, we need this, we need this, and then you're going to get it from the tax dollars, obviously. But you guys are a small city. I'm a small developer. So the thing is, everybody has to help everybody get across the finish line. So these are some of our partners here. Sleeping Giant, individual that has a marketing. She does a lot of design work for magazines, very creative, a small business, but a really high energy go-getter. Young Architectures is an architect I've worked with for years. Brian's a very creative, very conservative architect, and I've talked to him already about designing affordable housing. And he said, I've worked with this capacity with many communities, and it's all in how you design it so that everything works together. As far as engineering, is another engineering company. So these are some of the mechanics of the project, everybody doing their part in turning the wheels. We've already discussed the LOI engagement. I think you guys are already familiar with that letter of intent. Presenting to you guys here, the council today, the city funds and soft costs for the development package is calculated, and you'll see the breakdown of the initial investment here that will happen over time. The development package completed and reviewed would be something I would prepare upon us beginning, that would have basically the package would end up being about this thick by the time we got through it, because it would be more or less a playbook that would have things from the engineering, things for utility. In my development, I just spent 5 months going through submittals to FEMA, NDOT, and also Department of Natural Resources, DNR. So these processes are becoming much more lengthy. As the city gets bigger, they have to slow down to make sure you check the effect, the cause and effect has to be looked at closer. So there's quite a bit involved to put together the package, but then there would be a closing and transfer of the property into an LLC, so we could be able to start selling, pre-selling. We would be meeting with Randolph County for utility installs and lateral, trying to leverage to see if the county could potentially participate, because this would be a huge deal. for Union City, because there's not been anything at this magnitude that I've kind of seen. And am I okay so far?
Yeah, I was looking for Gary Gerton. Is he still here?
I think he had to leave, he has another meeting.
He was county commissioner. It was perfect,
Okay.
though, that he at least got a taste of what we talked about.
Well, and hopefully he'll be able to see this.
Yeah.
And I think it may be on so that he could be able to rewatch it back.
I will send it to him.
Okay. But again, the county is a critical component to the partnership. Again, much as I've seen with the airport, Lucas Oil, different things that go on in the city of Indianapolis, of the city's involvement to put the initial investment up. Even when you look at the cities that were vying for the Olympics, you guys probably remember everybody's putting their packages together. Well, the package for the city of Indianapolis, I found out, it cost like almost, it was several $100,000. I don't know the exact number, but I do know it was several $100,000 just to put a package to bid on it. So the city's constantly reinvesting to be able to continue to get growth coming back in, which is why we have such a strong state, because of the investments and looking, for the future. Again, here are some of the other key parts here. The community outreach for subcontract laborers. Now, this is largely drafting off of what I have seen that has made these public projects successful, is that you have to have a community outreach. The community has to be involved. It can't be something that is just done and, oh, here, take a look at this. You have to reach out to all the different companies that are around here saying, hey, listen, we're going to do something new. We're going to help stimulate growth. It's here. I mean, there's not been any newer developments that's happened. So somebody out here has to want a new home versus continually buying an older home. Not that anything's wrong with it, but we have to have buy-in from the community. So the way to do that is you have community outreaches, that you put the word out and you do a large presentation to get people involved and get people talking, get people asking questions. You show the houses and get interest. Also dealing with community outreaches for subcontractors. I'm a huge advocate of, and again, something I respected from with the airport is that these companies would come in from international, but they would embrace hiring local. I mean, versus they come in, you make the money, and they're gone. And it leaves, the community desolate, basically. This is really big because I feel that it's necessary to make sure you reach out to find the subcontractors, find the people who are electricians, find people who are plumbers, find people who, that can do landscaping, that can lay foundations. And you start working with that core group, and through a program office and an outreach, you organize everybody so everybody is participating. And again, that's involving the community. And I think for a smaller city like this, I think you guys could get a tremendous amount of attention if it's approached in a manner where you're involving everybody, because people tend to respect the fact of community involvement. This would also involve utility, road installation, water, gas. All this would be in the planning stage of what I'm proposing. I would obtain the building permits to deal with it. We build a model home. I've already spoken to 2 different banks about what I'm potentially proposing, what could happen to get involvement to help put up a model home on my side to be able to get something so that we could be able to have people start coming through. We had also established a construction program office somewhere within here in the city that we'd be interested in working with the city with either an old building that you guys may want to see remodeled, that we'd be able to come in and help out within that. Maybe a donation to us that will come in and do the remodeling of that in a very visible area. So that way, again, to create the excitement. The media outreach is another big factor, which, I'm very glad that we've got media coverage so far today on this is helpful, but it was probably just planned. But this type of outreach, publications, and partnering with the community makes it so you have to have an all hands on deck situation. These are some of the initial soft costs of getting this started. Now, typically, within any developer, this is going to be a cost that you're going to have to bear. It's just, you cannot be able to move forward without at least having done your due diligence, having your team to have a package ready to actually go forth. This would be part of this initial soft cost, which comes out to about $4,800 per lot, which is about normal. It's normal for soft costs being within there per lot. That we would look at earmarking part of that within the 52 lots. So each time a lot sells, there's a portion of that that goes back to the city to be able to help out. But this covers, civil engineering, drainage, utility. There'd be a plethora of meetings and drawings, working with drainage, the legalities of setbacks and all this stuff that would have to be involved, designing it out, the marketing, the architectural, the design all the houses, the legal, community outreach for the subs, the buyers. These are all kind of integrated in, which I'm not going to go into because I'm already kind of going a little further over where I should be, but I appreciate you guys' patience. But this, I kind of want to make sure I put at least a map out here so you can kind of see, how the costs break out here, what's involved to be able to get something going. Now, in a house that I'm doing right now in Indianapolis, one home that we had to deal with DNR and Citizens Energy just to build a house, one house, I'm already out of pocket $10,000 just between permits, laterals, different inspections, mandrels, all this other video, all this stuff, as-built, just on one house. So I know that there's a lot involved, but there is an initial investment to help stimulate the growth.
Can I ask, go back, and the 4,800, that's the average cost that would have in that. That's factored into the cost of the building, of the construction.
Correct.
And is it returned back to the city, or
Not
is that what you're?
Yeah, not the full 48. It'd probably be about half of that.
Okay.
From what we're calculating, and again, this
or could that be used for assistance and down payment?
It could, but that would be your call.
Yeah.
I mean, my whole thing is what I try to do is this is how I figured out financially it can work. This is what we can do giving back. Now, what you decide to do with that, that would be very appropriate because it would help. You can have down payment assistance that then ends up happening. It creates a recirculating effect, which would compound on itself.
Mm.
So again, that's open for discussion, however you guys would want to, but it would be something good. I think it's important that, if we're going to receive, we need to make sure we're giving back something. I'm kind of old school how I was brought up, so I believe if you take, you got to give. It's just a law of the land. The farmers have lived by this for years. It's worked, so no need departing. So that's kind of my concept of, but you could use that for down payment assistance. And basically, Union City, United We Grow. We get everybody involved. And as part of this, there's my company, there's my website. I really, invite you all to take a look at my website. It has a lot of work that I've done, videos that you can see, houses I've done from beginning to the end where it fast forwards so you can kind of see my concepts and styles. So any other questions? Otherwise, I'll let.
Well, let me just point something out in regards to tonight. We also had Brody Charter brought his team in on the realty side. We have Planet Home Lending here as well. I mean, so we're kind of looking at how we can go at this for a turnkey operation for potential home buyers.
Right.
And what we hope to do on that, just to answer your question about the down payment assistance, naturally everybody in the world has the USDA 100% and they have the VA 100%. But we've worked in there also that we're trying to get into the project where there's a minimum amount of closing costs that people use. Now on the bank side, we don't need to make the money on that part of charging people, which they do fees. But your title company fees, your appraisal fees, the research that Nate and I are doing on that to try to get people in this area to be able to understand that we have a crew for appraisals. Then what we do is if we try to take that couple $1,000, work into the pricing for the closing costs. So the 100% ability is there. On top of that, today you've always heard of only 3% down, or 3.5% down FHA loans, and you had to have certain regulations to it. Well, we've stretched the regulations in many of the things that Nate and I've done to keep that minimum down payment, even a 3% down conventional product. There could be gifts. That could be, they sell their car, they sell their truck, they sell their extra boat they have. So gift monies, so we're trying to get the programs for Keith together to where people can come in with very minimum down. And then the cost expense over and above that people go, well, where did that come from? We try to pick up on the bill part, if that helps.
Perfect. Good, Jim.
Have you done any small towns before, or haven't?
I haven't. I've built homes in small towns. In
Any of them-
Lebanon, I built
Any of them here in Indiana? Or?
Yeah, in Lebanon, Indiana, there was a A-frame home I built. It was pretty far. There wasn't anything around for a mile. It was one of the nicer homes that I had built. It's been a while ago. But recently, no, I haven't.
You haven't done no project like this in small towns? So
No.
This would be the first?
This would be the first. One of the fundamentals that I think that is key in this, because everybody starts from some point, but you want to make sure from the point somebody's proposing to start that there's enough history and enough experience to be able to know how to create it. Because from my standpoint, understanding development, and because of what I had to go through creating my own development, it's a step process. And that's why you saw up there our partners. All those are people I work with all the time. I mean, I can call into Y, I can call, that's all Y does, is primarily full-scale developments. They do a lot of municipality, they do very large projects, and they do little projects with small people like myself, because they want to help grow me. Same thing as with my attorneys. They've done a tremendous amount of legal work for real estate deals. They don't do litigation. They primarily just business practice, real estate. And some very sharp people. I have the experience because of going through many ups and downs that you've been battle tested. That's the reason why I said never forget, because the thing is, going into the military, which I don't have any experience on that, but I did get a chance to go on the USS Stennis as a guest to see how the military operates. But the thing is that you want to make sure in projects like this, you've got people that have been battle tested. That it's not that I've only built one house. I built several houses, and I've built a lot of houses. I bailed people out of problems where I had to come in and correct stuff. A lot of that adds to my knowledge of the development working through the process.
Okay.
Very, very impressive resume of different designs you have, and certainly a lot of these are absolutely what's I think brilliant. So the designs you shared with us is they capture a lot of the history that already exists in the community, but at the same time it's a subtle infusion of some contemporary style.
Right, I'm glad you picked up on it.
Yeah, that really it really is it would make for a very nice neighborhood, very beautiful neighborhood. Now, so if I understand this right, conceptually, would the goal be to build one unit initially as a model home, or to see the kind of gauge the interest, or is it more aggressive than that initially?
Well, from a simplistic standpoint, minimum would be one. What I'm pushing for is the banks that I'm speaking to is talking about the project. We need to build the first building. We need to build the first 6 units.
Okay.
So that way they can sell on demand. And I think the importance of, it's kind of the chicken and the egg, which comes first, but the community outreach is huge because, again, this has been what I put together. Now, what you would see for the community will blow this away. This will look like a little bike on the highway. I mean, because the people I work with are just that good. I don't keep people around me that can't perform, because I don't like losing. I like coming in. We're out in front. you come out very strong, a very clear directive, a very clear concept. So the goal would be, at minimum, you do one house, because I know I could do that. The goal would be getting the banks involved so I can do 6 right off the bat, and you couple that with a community outreach saying, we're going to be starting the initial building coming up here. We're taking pre-sales right now. We're taking reservations.
Right.
So from a banking standpoint, Mike could help us if I have pre-sold 6 houses or 10 houses. That's why that community outreach is huge, because we could find that there's pent-up demand. People like being in the county, but there's nowhere new that I could buy. So what you guys are proposing, especially, you've picked up on what I was trying to convey. And if you have, that means others probably will, because it still embraces the history, but you do have that little, pinch of the whole contemporaryism, but you're not lost. And so I think in that regard, I think we could very well get pre-sales prior to construction, that we could be able to get them qualified, because I work with First Financial, which is right down the street. When I came here, I was like, that's because that's the bank I work with. So, as a matter of fact, I called my bank. I said I didn't know there was one here, but anyway, they have also construction programs that I work with. There's 5 different banks that I work with in construction loans for custom homes. But with the fact of the history I have working with Mike in the past, he's got a very in-depth knowledge of understanding the construction process. So many times we may go and put the roads and sewers, work with Randolph County, they help put the utilities in. We may have it so that half of that cost, the initial front, goes into the development, and you guys may say, we're going to elect to be able to give that back to people on down payments. Well, coupled with what he just said, things that they can be able to do to help offset down payments, people may be coming to the table literally with almost nothing, and with the contribution you guys do makes it very affordable, because many times, and I'm a broker, I know in real estate class they always drill the fact that people don't necessarily pay attention to the price. They pay attention to the payment. And getting into the house to afford that payment, many people can afford $600 a month, $700, even, on a $130,000 house, what would that probably be on the payment wise? $800?
$600, $700, $800.
Yeah, $800.
Depends on the taxes and
Yeah.
association dues you try to keep down, the homeowners
Keep down,
association dues, because they get outrageous a lot of times,
Right.
$300 or $400 a month. We get them into $75, $85
Right.
per house.
So you keep that affordable. So the point being, the affordability, the price, which is what people will watch, is what you primarily push. In an outreach, you can have one of these houses, one of the smaller homes. You put the disclaimer out, the houses start $800 a month. So if 2 people are working even at service places, and they don't have very much debt, even a credit score probably 650, somewhere around there. I know it ranges, but they could be able to get into a house. Many times what holds people back is that down payment, is the closing costs. So by everybody contributing just a little bit, it makes it very affordable. Oh wow, well with this program, you mean I only need to really come with $500?
Well, pre-start is that you've got to take, when I've done several developments also on the sales side, like Kokomo opened up when they were having problems, and they took the Wildcat Golf Course. They couldn't sell the properties. They brought me in 2 or 3 days a week. We ran them to 8 to 12 units a month. At that time, it's good to know that the person's not going to be qualified and then walk on the deal. So large developers that we would talk to, they're just one-sided people. This is the way they do it, and they don't have any change. Where K.I.S.S wide open to follow whatever the consumer is looking for. In our cases, we try to take a minimum down payment to keep the person structured, to know that, and then get the community outreach, the carpenters, the plumbers, the electricians. This will spread like wildfire just to them to tell their friends and neighbors, look what we're doing. So that's the biggest key. The bigger outlet of a builder is going to bring his crew in with his attitude and from his area. And if you put a little small town, like I grew up in Zionsville when it was nothing and watched it develop, and tried to help Kokomo. I tried to help Noblesville all through the 90s with RDJ Builders. At this time the outreach to the people, then you had to sit down and give them something, which we want to do. We want to give them a nice home with a nice choice that's affordable cost. They're going to have to put something into it to, you know, the first 8 we sell, they put something into it. You put some down payment, you get some money back, type of thing. But you just don't want to give them away to low income,
Right.
because low income's going to trash it out, and that's not the design we want to do, really.
Yeah.
Right, so you want to have a little structure to it, reasonable payment, but somebody that wants a nice home to keep up a nice home.
Yeah.
So it can grow through that area.
Well, along those lines too, there are some homes in that neighborhood, because obviously, you know, you talked about earlier having a homeowners association, and one of the objectives of that, just spitballing, not being a part of one, but I would imagine is to protect the investment of the homeowner.
Right.
So with that being said, you know, there are some properties here and there on the other side of the street, on that street, that are not up to maybe the quality that someone moving into an entity such as this would desire to be across from.
Right.
So what history has demonstrated, or what evidence is there, if any, for, let's say, the city was able to put something together where maybe we identified X amount of properties, 2, 3 properties on that street, close by, within visual proximity, that if they were purchased and rehabilitated through local contractors, could they be melded into that or molded into a homeowners association?
Well, again, at this state of anything is possible. However you want to thread all that together,
Okay.
they could be tied into the homeowners
I think it's a
association.
certain square footage, I mean, it's a certain distance away. So the people across the street could
Conceivably.
conceivably, and if we're sitting here with banks, how would you like to remodel?
Right.
And try to keep the facial look, so.
Right.
You're absolutely right, you want those people to appreciate the good look and try to
Yeah.
upgrade, absolutely.
Okay.
Because with that being the case, you know, what will entice people coming in to homeowners associations, that it definitely helps protect value, because
Mhm.
there's a baseline of there's a standard. And that standard at minimum, that's the reason why, you know, you go to areas which, you know, all throughout Florida, all throughout, you know, California, a lot of places that I travel, you know, one of the things I do is spend time driving through neighborhoods, especially high-end neighborhoods, to see what is it that keeps them at that particular level. And a lot of times they're very strict homeowners associations. I'm not saying it needs to be so strict where people can't do anything, but at least a base level. I think that's a great idea, that the city getting involved to potentially encourage remodeling in that. You know, I know back in Indianapolis they had where they were giving homes away for $1, that are now, those homes down in Alabama are, you know, 500,000, 600,000, 700,000. I remember coming out of college, they were giving those away. And it's, you know, I wish I had known then. I mean, because they're, so at this point, subject to,
Well, it increased a lot in Broad Ripple, it increased a lot in several of the areas that you've worked and I've worked. When you start building a development like that, the other people get that paintbrush in their hands, they get that car out of the front of their house, they get their trash cans.
Yeah.
And that's where the association comes in a little bit. How would you like to join into that? So I don't know how that would be, but you'll get a tendency. And then again, how could we come up? We have painters on site here that we've hired in the local community. How can we help you by doing a deal for?
right.
You would pay $3,000 to have your house painted. How would you like to maybe have us participate? As
Yeah.
I mentioned, that we have that extra $1,000, $1,500 to help someone. How would you like to help us participate if you join our association to help you paint your house?
Yeah.
And you can do it for $500 instead of $3,000.
Right.
And as a builder, we'll help participate in that way, because the property is going to build value. Naturally, you got a raw ground piece of property. As soon as you put a house on it, what does it do? Triples the value of the lot.
So,
So there's the down payment, and can we help the community across the street?
and see, adding to that, the key part of this is, or the allowances within legal. I've already spoken to the attorneys, the guys I know, that, you know, this will most likely involve different aspects that may have to be done to help make it work. So that can be written into it. Again, another opportunity is community development block grants, which are huge. I don't know if you guys have ever applied for something like that, but, you know, I know this is an opportunity zone. And with that being said, there's specific interest in stimulating growth here. And so I think there's a lot more to be able to be looked at to be able to help the neighborhoods be able to be remodeled. Because just the other day, somebody called me from the city and said, hey Keith, just wanted to let you know the city just got $500,000 to help build some houses in the Twin Airs area where they're going to be doing this new I don't know if it's the courthouse or something like that, but it obviously is something they applied for, they got. And the same thing is with you guys having an opportunity zone, and the mere fact of you taking a bold step like this potentially, and leveraging people who are already in support of you guys, I think you could get some traction, because there's a lot of people that are very much so pushing Indiana. And Indianapolis has done well over the years. That we've overtaken Cincinnati, because I know coming up when I was younger, Cincinnati was a city. That was the city everybody focused on. But when HUD-NUT started pushing some of the programs that actually and Lugar, the city has stayed consistent with a vision, and it's whereas Cincinnati has sometimes wandered like this. And the minute, it's like going to college, the minute you change your major, you've added another year, yet alone another however many thousands of dollars. So once you guys, if this is something that is embraced, everything else gets built around that.
Right.
I mean, this is a primary project. Everything else is built around that. The sidewalks are built in to involve community involvement. All those house plans all have porches, because porches tend to make people sit out there. And when people sit out and kids are riding down the street, oh, hey, Mary Sue, how you doing today? And they stop over it, and it causes neighborhoods to connect. And so that type of community is what creates synergy. And so that involvement I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great idea.
Appreciate that. Appreciate your insight.
Interesting question in regards to if we're providing connectivity all the way to the downtown with a trail walkway there. What would it take to accommodate accessibility for wheelchairs?
I think it's important to incorporate that.
Because we have an aging population as well.
Yeah. I think you're talking about within the townhome, or you're talking about potentially?
Townhome.
I think it's important. Getting the townhome where it has a bedroom on the first level, and that's a very good thought, because I would probably need to make sure at least one was designed so that even though you may build the 6 and somebody who is handicapped may say, hey, I really would like to build one, well, we do have a particular floor plan that is handicapped. It's like going to
entrance from the front and the back.
Yeah, entrance from the back.
Entrance from the front and the back in a one level, and the first level master.
Yeah.
With overlights door.
Yeah.
With overlights bathroom door.
So we could design a plan particularly like that and make it so the ramps to the back aesthetically, so that you don't interrupt the beauty of the frontage. Because I think the frontage, the sidewalk, all along Oak Street, some of the houses I remember seeing along there are some really beautifully old historic homes. And you want to embrace that, because my oldest daughter's in she goes to Columbia in Chicago, and so we're up there all the time, and we were driving through a particular neighborhood, and I was telling my wife, I said, this neighborhood does not even feel like it's downtown. And it reminded me partially of Oak Street, not that it's in its full development that I envision, but that old school feel I think can be embellished on. And so handicap accessibility, I think, is really big, because you want to kind of be inclusive. A lot of handicapped people do want housing, but the problem is, a lot of the houses don't accommodate that. So a master on the first floor, a ramp to the back, oversized doors to accommodate that, I think would be a key point that I will remember.
Okay. Any other questions, Council? Comments?
Excellent presentation, and sure appreciate you making the trip up here for us, because this is quite an opportunity.
Yeah, And, you know, I appreciate the opportunity. And the thing of it is, I always remember, you know, in order to obtain success, you have to be willing to go that extra distance. I mean, that shouldn't even be a second thought. For me, it's not even a second thought driving this far. It's not even a second thought of how much work is going to be involved if this is something that moves forward. It's a tremendous amount of work, but the reward will be far worth it. So I appreciate you guys taking time to let me present.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for all that time that you gave us. It's most appreciated.
Sorry, I was upset.
Oh, no, I get it. We're only so many more days left.
At least you knew me well enough to know that that was worth me working one.
Because if I don't do it now, you know.
Still got 4.
Thanks. Now we get into the mundane stuff, so. Keith, we'll get you that link, you know, we'll make sure you get the link on this as well.
That'd be great. Okay. Yep, thanks.
Good job.
Okay, department reports. We'll be quick because this is running a little extra time here, but I think it was well worth it for the community, and also have this be played on K.I.S.S. Hopefully we can play it over several times in the next couple weeks to get some interest from the community as well. So I'm just going to skip over it. I think everybody's seen that they're doing leaf pickups and whatever else. It's seemed like all the leaves came down all on the same day, and so it takes us a little bit of time to make the route before we can even make we had to make our first pass through town. So it just takes a little bit of time. That's it. Let's see. Council members. Jan? Well, wait a minute. Jan, I just jumped over you. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Other than the public hearing thing, so we're done with that.
That didn't take long.
No.
All right. Council members. Tim? Jim?
No.
Bobby?
Nothing.
Monty?
Yeah, just had the news that we were awarded the funding to do the Oak Street project, street repair and sidewalks down in that section where that proposed development is going to be. So we should be able to start on that in the spring.
Very cool.
Is that concludes the trail, the 10-foot wide sidewalk now?
Yeah, it'll be
That'd be
kind of the
great.
initial part of that, the Oak Street Trail, yeah.
Very that's
Great news.
good timing too. Getting back on track here, chamber updates.
Have the holiday shopping day Saturday. Have 45 vendors
Is it this coming Saturday?
this Saturday. Have community room in the Elks, and all the merchants will have sales going on.
And how did the first Friday go?
We had 26 people.
Very cool. I was out of town.
Really
Sorry.
good. That's okay.
Went to go see Elton John.
No, I saw
He said hello, by the way. But was it well attended? I mean, did any other outside? I mean, did Greg make it over or not?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Very good. Anything else going on?
No.
From a chamber's point of view and listening to what the presentation that Keith put on, I mean, the whole thing that we're looking at is a potential of trying to, there's nothing new going on here, but offering something new to attract new people. So,
It's good stuff.
Ryan.
Yes. As far as my list here, I met with the public access TV ordinance. I've met with Chad on that. We've got a plan. He was supposed to meet with his board and then get back with me. I know he's been very busy with the lights, so that's kind of where we're at there.
Okay.
518 West Pearl Street.
Yeah.
I've been in contact with the owner of that, so
Trying to get, was there some issues?
Yeah.
With the contract or
there's
something?
an old contract that's still on. We're trying to get a release.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think the timing could be on that? I mean, hypothetically, just.
Well, if we wait on, I sent a letter to them last week, giving them 10 days, which that'll be up this week,
Okay.
and then we'll have to file. I mean, if they don't sign off on the quitclaim deed, then we'll have to file a.
It's in their best interest, though, right? I
Well,
mean,
yeah,
Yeah.
because we'll have to file a lawsuit to cancel the contract.
Yeah.
Otherwise, and that takes a couple
Yeah.
months. So,
Is it on Ducky's by any chance, or is it a different building?
Different building.
Different building.
R1, adopt new language, R1 zoning. I'm working with Jason on that.
Perfect. I mean, are they amicable doing this or?
Yeah, he says that it's going to be, a lot of work, but what isn't these days?
Yeah.
Anyone else do?
And then, the chicken ordinance. The last time, of course, we had the proposed ordinance, and then there was some discussion about just banning chickens and fowl altogether. And then we looked here, and I talked with Jan also. Of course, Chapter 90 animals. That's in our ordinance, Chapter 90. That's what deals with this. And it's mentioned that as far as farm animals, it's mentioned two places. 90.01 definitions. We've got the definition of livestock nuisance is a nuisance exists when hogs, cattle, or other livestock are held for storage, care, or feeding within the municipality. And then,
Could we just add foul to that?
90.3, that no person, firm, or corporation shall allow a livestock nuisance to exist on property within their possession or control within a municipality. I would just suggest that instead of drafting a new ordinance, we just amend that to include chicken, fowl, whatever. Turkeys, yeah.
Now, should we say just for outside the house, because people's got birds in their house, stuff like this, we don't want to outlaw those.
Right. Yeah, we can, I'm glad you brought that up. That's something
I
parrots.
just
and birds.
popped in my mind of how about people with birds in their home and stuff,
Yeah,
you know? I know
yeah.
people's got parrots.
We've also got like wild animals. I don't think that would
Yeah.
probably come under the wild animals,
No.
but, so, are we still going through, I guess I just need some direction as far as what is it that the council wants to pursue. I'll be happy to draft one.
I really think we ought to just modify the ordinance we've got to include I can't see us writing a whole new ordinance just for that one species.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in favor of that too, and I've had a number of complaints from people. That
Oh, yeah.
So, we would like to just modify it to ban the fowl altogether, as far as farm fowl. I don't know.
Well, anytime, if somebody wants to keep a emu in their house, that's fine, as long as they keep it in the house.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, all right, that's what we'll do then.
Do we have to sign off on something before they start enforcing that? Or
Yeah.
just-
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll
Because I had people ask about.
Oh, yeah, we'll have to get the thing written out.
amendment for the ordinance, and I'll have that, I can have that for the next meeting.
Yeah, and that'll take 2 times to pass that.
So get the word out.
Well, actually, I've been contacted since the last discussion we had, and I think I let the council members know that, people complain about whether it's the feces or if it's their flowers been eaten up. It's just one thing after another, or the noise at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, hearing a rooster crow.
Well, yeah, right. My neighbors have chickens, and they specially built a coop, a little coop, and they take very good care of them. They don't hear them. So I see both sides of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
next item that we have under old business rental inspection discussion. We are very close of having a checkoff sheet available for the public to know that what we'll be looking at. It's pretty inclusive, but it's also kind of intuitive. When you walk into a property, you'll be able to identify different issues that we're looking for health and safety. And as we give you a good example would be broken window panes or things like that, or missing ceiling tile, or black marks around a plug-in. You know, kind of identifying different health and safety issues. Mold.
Yeah.
So I think probably either next council meeting or the following council meeting we'll have a rough draft of that to be able to pass out. So under old business we have ordinance number 2018-21 junk car ordinance. It's the second reading.
We, Tim and I have located a couple of things in there we probably need to address.
Okay. Before we move forward?
Before we move forward.
Okay.
So.
All right, we'll put it on the next meeting's agenda. Then the other ordinance is 2018-22, the grass ordinance. It's the second reading. Try to find that page. Sorry. Ordinance number 2018-22, it's the ordinance declaring it unlawful to rake, place, or mow falling tree leaves or grass clippings on the pavement into the gutter of any public street. And talked about it at length at the last council meeting. The reason for that is we had such a heavy rainfall this year. There was some people that really probably never thought about it, that blowing all their leaf clippings onto the street or onto the sidewalk. And the issues becomes a slip hazard for people walking the sidewalk, and at the same time gets into our collection system as well. So I didn't know if there's any other discussion or any other comments from council. If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion we accept ordinance 2018-22 grass ordinance on the second reading by title only.
We have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Jan, would you take roll call vote?
Dan Vinson. Bob Leahy.
Yes.
Jim Hufford.
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Chad Spence.
All right, under new business, we have resolution 2018-R-08, additional appropriations. I'll
You have
just-
a blue, yeah, that blue slip in there.
What? I know, I just turned right to it, just like that. Because it's blue. Actually, resolution 2018 R-08, which allow us to increase the appropriation for the Lowell Public Safety Fund, the MVH Fund, and the General Fund. This additional appropriation for the Lowell Public Safety Fund is an unexpected ladder truck repair back in September for $13,855.93. The Lowell Public Safety Fund presently has a balance of approximately $84,000, so the funds therefore to allow the additional appropriation. The additional appropriation for the MVH fund is for the road maintenance work that we did this year. The total cost is approximately $120,000. This is $25,000 more than the $95,000 was appropriated, and the current balance of the MVH fund is approximately $250,000. Therefore, the funds are there to allow the additional appropriation. The additional appropriation for the general fund is for attorney fees. The wind turbine lawsuit. The general fund has approximately $2,089,000. Again, the funds are therefore allowed to additional appropriation. So, any questions or comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution 2018-R-08 as previously cited.
Okay. We have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Jamie, take roll call vote.
Bob Leahy,
Yes.
Jim Hufford,
Yeah.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
All right. Under visitors, anyone wishing to address the council? Yes, state your name and your address and nature of your business.
My name is R. John Desmond. I reside at 1267 Zoom Room Road, Union City, Ohio. Didn't know about the presentation this evening, but being in the real estate business myself, I have some familiarity with price points and the neighborhood in general. And so the first thing that a person wants to consider is, what is the need that you're trying to address? And to that, we had a presentation that at no time, I think, actually addressed the need. It's a cool project, but I don't know that it addresses any real need. The county master plan, of which you all ascribe, you all agreed to the county master plan, shows that the county is in fact losing population, not gaining population. If we use the numbers that were presented tonight, we're talking 44 to 50 units on the multifamily plan, and then we were talking about 80 to 140 single-family houses out by the sewer system and the defunct windmill project. So if you add those all together, you're talking about 190 units. The average population in Union City, according to the 2010 census, is 3.2 people per house. You're talking about an additional 608 people that I don't believe actually exist yet. The vendor was asking for $250,000. What I suggest is you take $250,000 and reinvest it in the existing housing rather than throw it towards this project. My fear is that this is the next windmill project. You're attracting subprime people where there's virtually no money down. As much as I'd like to see pretty houses in Union City, you have to have a market for it. No market study has been created, and if you're going to push this thing, at least do a study of that. So, thanks for your time.
John, you had another minute to go.
I'm happy to have a dialogue here.
Well, I would like to address, one thing is we're planning for the future, and we'll know in the next, by springtime, the nature of the postal contract, which you've been in multiple meetings in here and heard that discussion. And so if we waited until we heard about that project, whether we were gonna receive it or not, and if we did receive it, we'd be behind the 8 ball. So if we do not lay plans out now, we're in the planning process, John. So that's the reason why we also are planning for this, is because, Monty, did we not do a study with East Central Indiana?
East Central Indiana Regional Planning Commission commissioned a study through Purdue University that showed that there is a housing shortage in Union City and Randolph County.
And we're talking, you mentioned subprime buyers or whatever else versus subprime renters. And we would much rather see people owning property than
I don't
versus.
disagree with that. There's lots of studies that show that, but here's an alternative idea. Amazon, in conjunction perhaps with the US Postal Service and so on, is doing a big drone project. I mean, they've been doing it for a number of years in England. They've been doing it, rolling it out in France and so on. One of the ideas that I'm suggesting to the economic development people is that we partner with Amazon to do drone delivery in the 5-pound or less category. Because Randolph County is a relatively poor county in the state of Indiana. And if they can pull it off in this county, they can do it about anywhere. And they have a central hub just north of Indianapolis. But the other thing that's kind of remarkable that fits into this housing concept is Amazon is going to be building houses as well. They're getting into that business. And it may be something like Sears had in the Craftsman types of buildings, where they pre-assemble the buildings and ship them in here. So rather than put all your eggs in one basket, and $250,000 investment, which is the proposal, I suggest that you broaden it, maybe even create a committee. You've got Chamber of Commerce people that might have an interest in that. Maybe reach out to them and other interested people that have an interest in building Union City. I don't think it's totally crazy, but I think that it ought to be weighed against other alternatives that might be in the market.
Any other visitors wishing to address the council? You need to speak up. Or
Susan
throw
Hubbard,
something at me.
504 South Columbia Street.
What was your first name?
Susan.
Okay.
Um,
And do you
I
know
just-
that the camera, look into the camera and say,
I just was wondering, I haven't been to a meeting for a little bit, I had to work, but, are you guys, I saw this sidewalk for the second half of Columbia Street. I thought it was gonna be this year, but I just
It
wanted to see.
probably would have been, but NDOT came up with some new permitting process that our engineer is working through with them now.
Okay.
The upside of it is.
It's gonna
is
get
that-
done though.
Well, is that NDOT is probably going to pay for the new sidewalk, which will help us tremendously, so. But yeah, that's what we would
Okay.
probably have bid, because we've already got the funding for it. And we could probably bid it this year, but, NDOT got in our way. on it.
well, and then to add to that, the 28 project, which was supposed to have been here already.
Right.
Has not, and I think they're probably running a year behind.
But, yeah,
That'll all be tied together.
but we'll, we're gonna be, they're merging our two projects with the 28 sidewalk project out there. And in that, they'll do all the construction inspection and whatever, it's, again, saving us a bunch of money, so, and they moved that up for next year, so.
Are the rest of the trees gonna get cut down then, on the Columbia Street,
Just the,
on this side of Columbia Street?
yeah,
I think
just the
there was
Bradford
two.
Parish, yeah.
Yeah, right, no,
Yeah, because
that's,
we'll go back in with the,
Any comments in that regard? I mean, good, bad, or ugly? I mean, I've had some people complain about it, but like I said, regarding the bird crap and whatever else.
you need the noise that is,
Oh,
I mean, just the two trees that are left on Columbia Street, that now they're all
Yeah.
gathering there, it's not pretty. So-
The one, no,
Have some homeless birds.
when I saw you and during Keith's presentation, that's why I asked that question.
I was gonna ask.
Oh,
I appreciate you.
well, and that's sometimes when people don't think in regarding people that are in a wheelchair, and the nice thing about the accessibility of that wide sidewalk will be there as well. So,
It just looks better.
yeah.
That was it, thank you.
Next council meeting is Monday, November 26th, at 6 p.m. Board of Works is at 2 p.m. same day. I'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
So made.
We have first or a second?
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.